Today I'm going to make some lo mein. I made this a few days ago and some of you asked me how to make it, so here's how to make it. I prepped all of this last night. Even if you don't prep the night before, just make sure that you have all of your ingredients ready to go because this does move really, really quickly. We're making enough for 4 people. So I'm gonna start with about 4 cloves of garlic that have been thinly sliced, as well as about 2 inches piece of ginger that was thinly sliced. I have 1 whole red onion. You could absolutely use shallots instead. Make sure that you're using a glass container whenever you store things like onions or garlic in the fridge so that the smell doesn't permeate into the rest of your fridge, or it permeates as little as possible. I have 3 boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You can use chicken breast. I like chicken thighs for most applications because it just retains the juiciness better. Here I have the stems of 1 large head of bok choy. Now, some of the vegetable ingredients that you use in lo mein are more up to you, what you like, but you really want to have bok choy to be able to call lo mein lo mein. So please have that bok choy. You see how I cut it up into like 1-inch pieces. Next I have some carrot and I have some green beans. You can see the way I've cut these, kind of bite-sized. Now, carrot is not a particularly authentic part of lo mein. I was reminded about this by the man who's the grocery store worker at the Chinese grocery store. He said, oh, you know, he knew I was making lo mein for a crowd. He saw me buying carrots. He said, oh, carrots is not an authentic thing in lo mein, and that is true. But every Chinese person who I know who makes lo mein, they put carrots in it. And I'll never forget, this was like 20 years ago, I was in an Indian grocery store, and I saw some hipsters shopping there, and I also saw some majorly redneck people come in there, and they were asking...
Wait a minute.
What's that?
What's this redneck stuff?
I saw some redneck people come in and they asked, do y'all have any of those cheese samosas? Cheese samosas that we had at the restaurant? And their hipsters was just kind of rolling their eyes like, oh my God, cheese samosas. I think it was like pizza samosas, that's what it was. Pizza samosas, oh my God. And meanwhile, the Indian grocer was saying, they were speaking amongst themselves, the family, and they were saying like, what is that, pizza samosa? Yeah, kya hai? Kaise banana hai? They were trying to figure out like, how are they gonna make it at home? So don't be overly hung up on authenticity is, I guess, my point there. If it's something that you like, if it's an easy way for you to sneak vegetables into your household's diet, do it. It's good to know what's the authentic way, but don't feel like you're a prisoner to it. And then lastly, I have some 1-inch cut up. These are the leaves of the bok choy. So we had the stems and we had the leaves. Now why I cut it separately is that the stems are going to take longer to cook than the leaves, which are they're not even really going to need to cook. We throw them in after we turn off the heat, just to kind of soften them. And then to keep it separate, I put in a little piece of saran wrap, my scallions, my green onions that I cut on the bias, about 1 bunch. Everything that I've shown you in the order in which I will put it into the pan. The order you put it into the pan is important because, as I said, some things take longer to cook. We'll also want some lo mein noodles. Now, this is not my preferred lo mein noodles, and if you had noodles with me on Friday, these are not the noodles that you had. You had the fresh noodles. But I didn't stop by the Asian store, I stopped by Publix, and this is what they had. And again, speaking of authenticity, I've seen Chinese people actually use the Barilla brand bucatini pasta to make lo mein when they didn't have their traditional lo mein noodles. So something to think about. You could absolutely substitute with pasta, especially a spaghetti, or even better, like a bucatini. So as we are making serving for 4, this is 4 servings. So I'm going to toss this into my boiling water, and you can cut. Okay, so while I have my noodles boiling, I suggest that you check out the package and see how many minutes your package advises you to boil your noodles for, and then you'll boil them for about 1 minute less than that. So I think I'm going to boil mine for probably 4 minutes. I can always check on it at that point. I like to use my timer because this definitely goes quickly. Okay, let's start to make our sauce before we start to toss in the ingredients. Now, I will mention cooking oil. You can use canola oil to fry this up, that's fine. But I think you should consider rice bran oil. It's the same clean, neutral taste, but it has a lot more omega-3 and 6 fatty acids. It's just a much healthier thing than canola oil or vegetable oil. As for our sauce, I'm going to use here soy sauce. You can use any brand of soy sauce that you like. I happen to like Lee Kum Kee. But just make sure that the brand that you use, whatever brand, that it is a Chinese soy sauce. There's a difference between Chinese and Japanese soy sauce, like the way that they're brewed and the way that they taste. I can't tell you exactly how much sauce you should put in here. It's kind of going to be by taste. I'm going to put in that much. I like to use dark soy sauce. This is again Lee Kum Kee. I'll probably put in about half of the dark as I do the light. You don't have to have dark soy sauce. I think it makes a difference. It adds to the color, and it's something that will remain shelf stable for a long time. So if you think you might like Chinese food, it's a good investment. Let's add some oyster sauce. Again, I have Lee Kum Kee. I didn't even realize that. Been getting the same thing every time. You need about maybe 2 tablespoons of this. It's very thick stuff. Well, we might not get 2 tablespoons out of this.
I think you got it.
All right, and then I'm also going to use some roasted sesame seed oil. Now, you don't want to use roasted sesame oil to cook with, and that is because it doesn't have the high smoke point that a vegetable oil or your rice bran oil would have. But it does add a lot of great flavor. So we add it more towards the end. All right. And we're also going to add some cornstarch. We want to add cornstarch because while our sauce is nice and cool, I'm going in with about 1 teaspoon here because it helps our sauce to thicken. You will find that cornstarch is used in a lot of Chinese cuisine, a lot of their sauces. And since it only costs about $1, might as well, right? Okay, and then the last thing that we have here is sugar. I'm going to put in about 2 teaspoons of light brown sugar. And you might be surprised to find out that a lot of Chinese restaurants use a lot of sugar. We don't have to use as much as they do, but it helps to balance out some of the flavors. So I'm going to put in that 2 teaspoons of sugar. Can you cut? All right. So now I'm going to drain my lo mein noodles. Always make sure that cold water is running down your sink as you drain pasta or noodles or anything, so that you don't burn your gaskets. Is that right?
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure it'll help
That's what I was
with the
always
connection
told.
on the garbage disposal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was always told to do that.
makes sense to me.
Alright. And unlike rice or some other things, you do want to splash on a little bit of cold water. Wash my pot in a moment. And we'll just leave that here to drain. Okay, let's start tossing in our ingredients. So I'm going to use, as I said, you can use your any vegetable or canola oil. I'm using about 3 teaspoons or a tablespoon here of rice bran oil. We'll let that heat up. Again, this does go fast, so we need all of our ingredients to be ready. Now, there's 2 kinds of people when it comes to lo mein. You have the people who say, don't cut up your garlic and your ginger too finely, don't mince it up too finely because it will burn. And then they like it thick like this. And you have other people who say, I don't want to bite into shards of garlic or ginger. So they do want theirs fine. I'm part of the first team. I do like biting into shards of fresh, bright ginger. So do what works for you. Just remember that the more finely that you chop up your aromatics, the more easily they can burn, and the more quickly you'll have to get all the other ingredients into the pan before these babies have a chance to flavor the oil. Alright, if you had cut this much more finely, you had minced it, you would have to be putting in your onions already. But I can take another 10 seconds. My heat's on about medium. Do you need a wok for this? You absolutely do not need a wok. Now, if you have the luxury of fire, actually cooking with fire, with gas, then a wok can be great because the fire is going up the sides of your wok. But if you have an electric stove or an induction stove or something like that, the whole point of the shape of the wok is lost on your cooking medium. And you will only get the very base, the bottom will only be touching heat. So it's a total waste. You'd actually do better to have a large and flat surface with high sides like this one, which by the way you can find for about, I think these are about $40 at Walmart. So I think these are a great deal. You have temperature adjustments on them, and this piece can go, just remove the plug-in heating element, and this piece can go into the dishwasher. Great. Alright, we've softened up our onion. Let's put in our chicken. Chicken has been sliced very fine. That's going to help this to cook really quickly. Try putting your meat into the freezer for about 10 minutes if you're having difficulty to cut it really thinly and finely. Again, that was 3 chicken thighs that we used.
Smells great.
Thank you. I'm really glad that I did this prep the day before. A lot of us are tired, we come home from work and the last thing that we want to think about is cooking. But if our ingredients are prepped for us, we're a lot more likely to do it. That's why those HelloFresh meal kits are successful. That's what they're charging you for, is that prep, right? This is expensive the first time you make it. You have to buy these like sauces and oils and stuff. But buy them once and you'll have them. You see how little sauce that we needed for up to 4 servings. So it'll last you for a long time. Shelf stable. To keep things moving, especially when you have garlic and ginger in there. Don't want anything to burn. Scrape your bottom. Cooking at home definitely tends to be healthier than eating outside food. You saw we put in about 3 teaspoons of the rice bran oil. I can promise you that this oil is not only starts at a better quality of oil, but you are getting the first of the oil. In other words, you're getting virgin oil compared to what you might get at many fast food Chinese restaurants. You would be blown. I worked for a very short time at a Chinese restaurant. You would be blown away if you could see how much oil and MSG and salt and sugar and all of these things go into savory dishes. Yes, a lot of people are surprised to find out that indeed sugar goes into just about anything you eat at a Chinese restaurant. People wonder why they feel like crap sometimes after they eat Chinese fast food. It's because there's a lot of sugar in there. So it could be messing with your blood sugar. Alright, in goes my carrots and my green beans, neither of which are traditional, but I like carrots in there. As I said, as do all the Chinese people I know, Chinese-born people. And green beans were on sale at Publix. Otherwise, I would probably use snap peas if I weren't thinking about like what's on sale. Now at this point, I'm really not looking to cook anything super well. My chicken will have been in the pan long enough that it will get cooked through. That's all I'm really worried about. I'd like the rest of the things here to have a crunch.
A little al dente.
Yes.
That's how they are when you get it from a real place too. It comes out no matter what. Seems like the vegetables are about half cooked because they sit and finish cooking.
That's definitely the way to do it. It will taste better. And it will have more nutrients, of course, right?
Yeah.
If you ate on Friday, lo mein with me, something that I usually put into lo mein is bean sprouts. And I put that in at the same time that I put in my bok choy leaves after I've turned the heat off, and they're just kind of cooking in the residual heat. I did not do that this time because I was at Publix and bean sprouts are too expensive at Publix compared to the Chinese store. Alright, next goes in our bok choy stems. I like bean sprouts. I like a lot of things that might not be considered traditional, but they're good to me. I like chow mein noodles. Put it at the very last second with the residual heat too, because it adds a nice crunch. I like water chestnuts. I'm not sure if those are traditional. Anything that adds a little crunch is great to me. just you cooking for yourself at home, I encourage you to make all 4 servings of this, just so that you can, because you can eyeball what I did in the video. It's easily to like eyeball that for yourself. And also,
You got lunch all week.
you will have lunch, yeah. Could make lunch for a friend. Very few of us live in situations where we're cooking meals for a big family. But we can do meal sharing, right? We do ride sharing. Sometimes we carpool to work. Why not meal sharing? Why not today I cook, tomorrow you cook for both of us? And when you know that somebody is counting on you to be up and out of the house and in the car and driving to work, it forces you to be on time, right? Same with cooking. If you know that somebody is counting on you to cook lunch for work tomorrow, you're gonna do it. I think that's my idea. I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Or get beat up.
What's that?
Or get beat up.
Or get beat up.
Yeah. Got to eat the old yogurt in the back of the refrigerator at work. If you didn't bring the lunch.
That's right. All right. So now it's time for us to add our noodles. Stir it here. I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. Just to the lower end, just below medium now. Alright, my noodles are in here evenly. Let's add our sauce. One of my favorite things to do is to use a ridiculously small container for the task at hand. So that's what I'm doing now. The brown sugar that we add doesn't just balance out the saltiness and the umami flavors of the soy and oyster. It also will help to caramelize our sauce a little bit here. Now be prepared, I'm going to turn this down quite a bit now. Be prepared that you might need a finishing touch of extra sauce. I don't think I will.
No, it's
I think
looking
I'm going to
good.
be good. But just be prepared with your bottle. Don't put your sauces away until after you've determined that you're good to go.
Max is giving it his approval right now.
Yeah, smells good, Max.
Yeah.
All right, and as this cools, because of the cornstarch, our sauce is going to thicken and set up a lot more.
Oh, that's really good.
It smells good too. All right, let's add our, if you were using bean sprouts at this time, this would be the time to add them. I'm adding my bok choy noodles, my bok choy leaves noodles. These have a lot of vitamins in them. I don't want them cooked. I just want them softened. This would be a great time if you're like me and you like chow mein noodles. You'll like them in this, I promise, because they stay nice and crunchy even in the sauce. It's kind of like a fun texture.
What's in the other bag? Green onions?
Yes, that was green onions. And that really goes in at the last minute. I like those just to top it right before I serve. All right, and my sauce, as you can see, it's really starting to thicken up now. I can drag my spatula through the pan. It's really thick now. I like really saucy lo mein. So I might add a tiny bit more soy sauce in a moment here. I just really want to make sure that all of my bok choy gets nice and wilted and soft, because that's how it's picking up the sauce flavor. comes to authenticity in cooking, you know, pioneers are the ones who made fusion cooking. So think of all of the lovely cuisines that we wouldn't have, like Goan Portuguese or Cambodian French. We wouldn't have all these great foods if someone hadn't been able to at least somewhat disregard authenticity above all other things, right? All right, topping this with my green onion. I've seen people put sesame seeds on here. You might consider reserving some of your shredded or matchstick carrots just to put on the top here to add a little bit of color. So that is going to be our dinner tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I hope that you will try it. Okay, take care. Bye.